Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game, and it's a preview of West Ham United against Stoke City as the Potters make their first ever trip to the London Stadium, and we're here in association with our sponsors, Royal London Watches. Go check them out, West Ham branded watches, something for everyone. The link is below. Jason, what's your thoughts on our opponents on Saturday?
It's a must-win game, and just as they're coming up to face us, they've decided to hit form and actually start getting that ball rolling. So I'm hoping we're not just going to sort of allow that momentum to go on, but it's with the couple of games we've got coming up, it's a must-win, honestly.
Charlie, they're sitting 12th in the league. They've won their last 3, unbeaten in 5. Are you scared of them a little bit? How good are Stoke?
At times, they are kind of so good that I sit there and just wonder, like, how high they can actually finish in the league. But at other times, they're just dull and boring. They're very much the footballing version of Mo Diarme. You know, sometimes they can be unbelievable and sometimes they can be just terrible. I think that I'm not scared of them. I'm concerned about their attacking force. However, I'm not as scared as maybe I should be.
Jason, what would be a good season for Stoke City? Where should they need to finish for a Stoke City fan to go, we've done all right this year, this is a good year for us?
I think they'd be happy with it. Clearly, exciting team, sort of banishing that Tony Pulis Stoke memory of just hoofing it up. They've got some really exciting players, and I think, you know, another season of consolidation, they could probably look at that Europa League qualification spot and actually really fancy themselves.
Speaking of good players, Jason, which players would you take to West Ham? You do, just off the top of your head, just do a combined 11 between Stoke and West Ham. Which Stoke players are you immediately thinking would probably make the 11?
Well, I'd have to start with Jack Butland in between the sticks. But going on from that, I think our defence would probably be a bit more solid. I don't think I'd really want someone like Ryan Shawcross in there. But looking at that attacking force, I feel as though we missed a trick not going for Wilfried Boney, as well, now he's starting to hit form. But also looking at a player like Xherdan Shaqiri, who I think he's yet to hit top gear with Stoke just yet, but we're seeing glimpses of it, and it's quite dangerous.
Charlie, do you fear Boney? I mean, he scored 2 against Swansea on Monday night. However, that was his first goal in 2016. He hadn't scored this calendar year yet.
Not massively. I mean, I do to the extent that I think we're going to have a slightly weaker defence this weekend because of Winston Reid's suspension. So in that way, I do fear him a bit, but I like him a lot. And he was one of the sort of, when everyone talks about the strikers we could have brought in the summer, he was one of the higher ones up on my list. Not anywhere near the top, but he was certainly up there. But I'm not particularly scared of him. He's not in great form. To be honest with you, I'm more happy that he scored last weekend, because at least that means he won't inevitably break his goal scoring record against us, which will be bound to have happened.
Well, before we talk about our own team, the last Stoke player we'll talk about, Jason, Charlie just said that Boney is not in form. However, this Welsh wizard is. Joe Allen, he's been involved in half of Stoke's Premier League goals this season, 4 goals and 2 assists to the name. Is he their danger man?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. With most of their attacking trio actually injured or suspended, I think all eyes are going to be on him to sort of get him out of trouble, potentially.
Well, the man in the middle on Saturday at London Stadium is Andre Manor. Now, last weekend, he refed the game at Selhurst Park as it finished Crystal Palace 2, Liverpool 4. He's handed out 5 red cards in his last 6 games. However, it could be misleading as he handed out 3 red cards in just one of them, but that wasn't a Premier League game. It was a Europa League game. We've only had him once so far this season when we lost 3-1 away to Manchester City. Stoke, however, have not had him, but last time they had him was a 3-0 defeat at home to Everton. And funnily enough, Andre Manor refereed this fixture last season as we finished 0-0 at Upton Park when Adrian and Jack Butland decided to have the game of their lives at the same time. Now, Jason, let's talk about our own team. Let's go straight into the starting lineup. You've got one change to make. Winston Reid is suspended from the team that played Everton. Is there any other changes you would make? Who would you bring in for Winston Reid? Are you changing the formation, or will you stick with the 3-2-2-2-2-1?
Yeah, I definitely stick with that same formation. I mean, we're blowing a bit hot and cold with it as well, but I still think we're just trying to find our feet with it. Obviously, with Winston being suspended and on top of that, getting injured as well midweek, my head is thinking Slaven's probably going to put Nordveit in there, but I know I may have said in the past before I wouldn't want to see Reece Oxford starting, but I feel as though in a game like this, I feel as though he's definitely got to be in with a shot. But never got to forget as well, we've also got James Collins kicking his heels on the subs bench as well. He could be an option. But other than that, any other big changes? I'd like to see, well, I know everyone keeps lambasting Payet from his previous performance, but I don't think anyone really showered themselves in glory from the Everton display. I think he probably just looks a bit tired. I mean, you got to think he's also had those games with France on top of the training going into this as well. So I think he's done extra however many minutes of football at a high level compared to the rest of the team. So I would like to see maybe Feghouli get a run out in some form, but we'll have to wait and see.
So just the one change for you then, Jason.
Well, I'd like to see Reece Oxford come in for Winston Reid and possibly Feghouli for even Payet or Antonio. And I'd like to see Kaleri actually get a start up front. You know, I feel out of all the strikers we have in our locker, he seems to be the only one that actually seems to get himself with some goal scoring opportunities. He's just not been able to hit the back of the net. And it looks to me like Slav is probably rotating the front line, as in, you know, he's given Zaza a run of games in there. He's given Antonio a run in there. I think I'd like to see Kaleri at least stake a claim and at least just give him a run to try and find his feet in the Premier League, because I feel as though the guy deserves a chance.
It's a fair point about Kaleri. I always say the hardest thing for a striker is to get in the goal-scoring opportunity. If you can get a striker that does that, he will eventually score. If you cover your eyes up and throw 100 darts at a dartboard, you will hit the bullseye at some point. Even though you can't see the blooming thing, you will hit it. Charlie, you've been sitting there quietly. What changes would you make?
I'm going to echo Jason in that I'd like to see Reece Oxford start. I think coming up against such an in-form attacking setup as Stoke have, you know, with Shaqiri and that lot, it's maybe a bit of a risk putting him in there, just dropping him in, but he has to play at some point, and if he does well, it could be the beginning of a really great run for him. And of course, you know, last time he was lobbed in at the deep end against Arsenal, he did kind of well. So I would prefer to see Oxford come in. I would keep the formation the same. I think that although we're struggling a bit at times, I think it gives us the most options going forward. And I think at this point, that's what we need to do. We need to start creating more opportunities and just getting used to that again, because right now we're all over the shop. I would like to see us play a front three similar to how Liverpool do. So how they have sort of three almost second strikers who all sort of mix it up and flow around with each other. And I'd like to see that be Andre Ayew, Dimitri Payet and Manuel Lanzini. I think they have the best chance of becoming a really nice trio, nice link-up play, all that sort of stuff. I think out of everyone we could pick, those are the three that would have there. And then the midfield four would be Cresswell, Noble, Obiang, and Mikel Antonio.
So you're dropping Fernandes?
I am, yeah. I think he's proved himself over the last couple of games, and it is difficult to drop him, but I feel that Mikel Antonio is ever so slightly better defensively than he is. And I feel that with those front three, we're going to need more people to be able to drop back and defend with a little bit more style, because I think in that formation, you're not going to see it as much. So I am, but if we're losing, he's a great person to come off the bench.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, Charlie. I think he's the burst player for this game. You have to put on the team sheet in the sense that he deserves to keep the shirt. Jason's right. Not many people came out with glory from the Everton game, but I don't think Fernandes did anything wrong while being in a position that was foreign to him. I would convert back to 4-2-3-1 for this one, just because of we're at home. I don't think we're going to be able to play counter-attacking against Stoke. I would bring in Reece Oxford as well, and I'd play him right back simply because Bilic is going to have to gamble. Who's playing left wing for Stoke? Arnautovic is suspended. It's not going to be him. So Shaqiri's out as well. I think he's going to take Jonathan Walters on the right wing. I think that's quite a straightforward. And Bojan, I think, will be the one on the left wing. And I think Reece Oxford could actually do well against him because he'll probably cut inside a lot. And I think Reece is that type of player that will be able to read the play and not get spun too easily like he did against Lukaku, Goodison Park last season. I would play... Well, actually, I'm going to go 4-3-3, and I'll have Obiang in front of defence. Just do not move. Do what you've been doing. Fantastic. player of the month for October, I think, in my opinion. So you just stay there. In front of him, I'd have Noble and Lanzini, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now I'm going to agree with Charlie with the attacking trio, interchanging play, a bit like Liverpool. But I would have Fernandes, Payet, and Ayew. And I'm putting Lanzini centre midfield with Noble because I think it's time to create behind the creative. It's too often against Sunderland that we almost stood outside the 18-yarder passing. But it's time to start zipping the passes to Payet, create for Payet and create for Fernandes instead of giving it them the simple ball. Going, what can you do? Do you remember the game? Well, you'll know it. Angry Birds, right? The mobile phone game, Angry Birds. You remember that one, Jason?
Yeah, of course.
And for the older generation, like Gonzo, if he's watching, Worms. You remember Worms on your really old computer with a mouse on your mouse pad, Gonzo? Worms. Basically, what you have to do when you're trying to attack, if you like, you've got to get the trajectory right, and you've got to get over obstacles, right? And I feel it's a bit like that. I feel like we're struggling to get over the hill on Worms or over the ice cubes on Angry Birds. So what do? You drop your worm back, or you change the trajectory. But I think that's what we need to do: get Lanzini back and start creating from deeper. And I just think if you've got him in there, tell Noble and Obiang, your job is to give it to Lanzini, and then Fernandes, Ayew, and Payet run. Go from left to right, forward to back, run. Because Lanzini, he's got the intelligence to pick these passes out. He's the only player I think I've seen try a through ball for Zaza. Zaza keeps on trying to run behind the defence, and he's the only player I've seen try and thread it through. I don't think I've seen Payet do it yet. I really don't. And I know people are going to say, you're dropping Antonio. Yes, I am. I just don't see how he would fit into the system that I would like to see us play. And I don't think he's been very good this last 3 or 4 games. He's had a fantastic start to the season. It might just be that he's a bit tired, and I wouldn't be surprised because he was carrying our team for the first 3 or 4 games, and it's a difficult job. And also his morale would have been low because Bilic kept playing him right back. So I think he just needs a little bit of a rest. And like Charlie said, you then have a game changer on the bench. And when we played Everton, the one thing I will say is we didn't have a game changer on the bench. You looked at the bench before the game, you thought, oh, I hope we don't go a goal down because I'm not going to be very enthused by bringing Zaza onto the party. You know, all of a sudden they're going to think, oh, we're going to score here. When Andy Carroll comes on, you think, he's going to score. You're in trouble. Antonio gives us that. Fernandes maybe gives us that. But, Jason, are you confident for this one?
Actually, yeah. You know what? I feel we're due like to bounce back. When I'm not confident, like when I'm a bit hesitant going into a game, we usually turn it on, a la Chelsea, where you saw me looking like I was on death's door going into that preview. We turned it around, we brought it, and we brought the fight to them. So I'm just hoping Slav gives them a size 10 up the backside. Get out there, show this stadium what it's all about. And once the crowd get behind them, it's electric, and it will then fuel them to get them over that final line. So with Stoke being depleted as well, like you say, with Shaqiri out, Arnautovic out, they're going to be relying on players more like Charlie Adam and what's his face, like Glenn Whelan, stuff like that. So they're going to be a bit more industrious, but that could let us play that a little bit more.
Well, Jason, the last 12 games in the Premier League against Stoke, we've only won 2. We've drawn 5 and lost 5. Are you still confident?
Records are made to be broken at the same time, We're still living in that Goodison Park hoodoo, but stranger things have happened.
Charlie, only 6.6. This is a Premier League low, by the way. Only 6.6% of West Ham United's shots have ended up in the back of the net. This is worse than Hull. This is worse than Sunderland. This is worse than Burnley, West Brom, although West Ham helped bump up West Brom's average. But this is the lowest in the Premier League. Charlie, is this where the problem lies?
For me, the problem lies in getting the service to the strikers. It frustrates me to no end that we have so many really good creative players, Payet, Lanzini, Antonio could put in a good cross. Cresswell is just an unbelievably good crosser. We have so many people who are physically and technically gifted enough to open up people and to give strikers chances, and yet we don't seem to be doing it with any sort of consistency. That's where the problem lies for me. I know, you did a show earlier in the week about talking about what strikers we should have brought in, how our strikers play. But for me, it's all about that, getting them the chances. Bilic at the best of times, his system is set up to allow the midfielders in, and the strikers aren't always the person at the end of it getting the goal. But there's just no opportunities happening. You could make the arguments, oh, maybe Zaza's not moving enough or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I don't remember many chances he's actually been gifted. And for me, that's a huge issue because then we're just reduced to long-range shooting.
Jason, another stat. This last week against Everton, Adrian played his 100th game for West Ham United. However, he's only kept 26 clean sheets. That means in 3/4 of our game, and by the way, I'm not blaming Adrian on that, but just before you say that, it's just, for me, he's played 100 games and he's been consistently in goal. So over the last couple of 2-3 seasons now, or whatever, him and goal, 3/4 of our game we've conceded at least one. That means we have to score at least 2 goals to win the game. Does that put pressure on the front line a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I feel as though where it was from our form from last season, it's almost like you score 1, we'll score 2. With that gung-ho risk for reward sort of style, it opened up our defence to no end. And like I say, maybe we're still feeling like a hangover of sorts going into this season with a misfiring striker. But I got to give Adrian credit because it's never really, other than the Everton goal, the first one, it's not really been his fault that we conceded so many. But I'm not too sure, really, to be honest, on that one.
No, but it's his fault. We keep giving the ball back to the opposition too easily from goal kicks and kicks out his hand. But that's for another show together. Right, you two get thinking of your score prediction before I get them put their necks on the line. Just remember and hit the subscribe button while you are here. If you're watching this on an embedded site, click on the button down here. It's just a little YouTube button. Click on that. It'll take you to our channel. Hit the subscribe button. Be kind. We'll be back on Saturday after the game at Full Time Live with a review, giving our reaction to the game, what we think of it, if we are angry or we're happy hammers. Now, Charlie, you've had 5 seconds. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, I'm hoping that Stoke come up with us with confidence, that they believe their own hype a little bit and think, oh, hang on, this is a team we could take here. We could go to the London Stadium and we could really take it to them and roll them over.
Hang on. Are you talking about the Stoke team or the Stoke fans?
Well, that definitely is another thing for another show. But I hope they come. With that confidence, because I think if they do, they're going to get in a lot tougher game than they think they will. Because last season it was the exact same thing. When teams come at us, our strength in this side is counterattacking with pace. And then we seem to find that ability to open people up. However, when we are the aggressors, when we are the people who are trying to do possession play and that sort of stuff, we aren't anywhere near as good. And that was what Koeman did so well. You said it best. Koeman did his homework. He figured out what to do. And I'm hoping that Mark Hughes has missed that out. I'm hoping they believe their own hype and come at us. Because if they do that, then I think we are more than capable of knocking them away counter-attacking wise. So I'm going to say 2-1 to West Ham.
2-1 says Charlie. That means 101 games for Adrian, still only 26 clean sheets. Jason, very quickly, you sounded confident earlier. What's your score prediction, please?
The first goal in this match is going to be telling if there's going to be a first goal. I'm going to be leaning towards 3-1. I think if we get an early goal, we're going to open Stoke up. They're going to start coming at us, and then we're going to hit them with some sucker punches. Kind of, more like Floyd Mayweather. We're going to be reactive rather than going out swinging like Manny Pacquiao.
Well, there you go. You got 2-1, 3-1, and I'm going for 2-1 as well. I'm going to keep it simple. Mark Hughes is not a good manager as Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman outplayed Bilic last week, did his homework, knew what to do, knew our strengths, knew our weaknesses. He did run over in Bilic. Fair play. Well done. Mark Hughes is not that good a manager. I think we've got a better team than Stoke on paper, given that they've got suspensions and injuries, which certainly are going to hinder them. And it's at the London Stadium. It's time to make this place a fortress. We started it against Chelsea. We've got to keep going against Stoke City. But thank you very much for watching. If you want to join in all the chat, come on to our forum at hammerschat.com. If you think Charlie is wrong, come on the forum and say, Charlie, you're wrong. If you think Jason's wrong, come on and say, excuse me, Jason, I don't think you were quite correct. And if you think I'm wrong, then you're probably wrong. But thank you very much for watching. Join us next time. We'll be back on Saturday with a live review.